gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Kiss Me Some Podcast 4K, the crazy Kiss Countdown. You wanted the best. I am one of your hosts, Eli Clausen.
And I am a used tissue.
And Savannah may or not be joining us as we go on here. She's out running some errands, so if not, I believe we do have her votes for this album. So, wow, so a little bit to talk about here. So, of course, hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving yesterday. Hope everyone got nice and stuffed. I know I did. How about you guys?
Oh, geez, yeah. We only did one family get together this time. You know, just with the pandemic and everything, you never know who's got what. And even though that was the only meal that I ate the whole day, geez, I couldn't have eaten supper if I wanted to.
Did you guys all go to your dad's or something? Or?
We actually went to Savannah's parents.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's completely different this year for us, too. Usually every year it feels like we go to at least 2 or even 3. And this year, we were going to have a more of just like a get-together with my wife's cousins and kind of that side of the family at her cousin's house. And that got canceled. And then actually tomorrow was supposed to be our get-together with my father-in-law and that side of the family. Well, that got canceled because one of the members of the family tested positive for COVID, and then the fact that the kid and whatnot, has been around my father-in-law. It's one of them things now where they kind of wait on the test and see how, it's a mess. So yeah, definitely no family get-togethers for Thanksgiving for us this year. So we just did our own thing. We made some food here at the house, and me and the wife and the kids just enjoyed a nice meal together. It was kind of nice for a change, to be honest. I'll be honest, every year I get kind of tired of running the multiple Thanksgiving dinners, but it is kind of nice to see family, of course. But every now and then it's like, it's nice to just stay in for once and just kind of relax, watch the stuff on TV. So, David, is that better, the echo? I think it's cut down a little bit.
Indeed, I just turned my headphones down. It's probably...
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, and if you guys are out trying to do any shopping today, hopefully you're staying safe, finding what you need, and get in and get out kind of thing. So touching a little bit more on the KISS announcement that we talked about last week with the live stream concert. There was one detail I did forget to mention when we were talking about it. They did mention on the trailer that they plan on having over 50 cameras filming this thing. So all kinds of really cool shots and angles, and who knows what they might pull out, for this thing with all these multiple cameras. And then, it came out earlier this week that they said that KISS plans on letting off over $1 million worth of pyrotechnics during this whole show. So
wow.
This it's definitely going to be a New Year's blast. It's going to be a way to bring in the new year, and hopefully it's going to be a better year. And and this is kind of the first, like, I don't know, like, it's been a long time since I could think that Kiss has done anything similar to this, like, kind of just a live, like, you don't really know exactly what to expect type of deal. Like, and God, like, I go back to like Unplugged or one of those kind of deals, like, it's been a while since I could think of anything similar to this that they've done. So there is a bit of excitement that comes with that.
I'm interested to see their set list. I'm hoping against hope that it isn't just the end of the road set list.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest worries. Yeah, I really do hope they pull out, especially, if we're all going to be paying money to watch this, don't get me wrong, I'll be happy to watch it one way or another, but, please give us a different set list, mix it up and throw some cool stuff in there, treat it almost like the cruise, pull out those deep cuts. There wasn't a cruise this year, and, they like to say that the diehards only know those deep cuts. Well, consider it as all the diehards are the ones that are going to be watching this thing. So,
right.
Pull out some deep cuts.
Absolutely.
Not to mention, I'm giving Kiss some free shilling here, but speaking of Black Friday, if you go over to the Kiss website, they do have a Black Friday sale going on today, 60% off select items, mostly end of the road shirts, tour books, things like that. So get over there, grab some of that cool stuff up. I've still been meaning to get the tour book. I need to do that eventually. Let's see. So the last thing I want to get into, and then we'll get going here on the album for this week. I want to give a shout out. We were contacted last week by Kiss fan and also an author by the name of Anthony X is what he goes by, and he has a book available called Kiss My Black Ass. This is my Black Kiss story, and you can find it on Amazon.com, and it's also available via Kindle if you're prefer to read your books that way. But he contacted us, said he just discovered the show. He's catching up, and I really appreciate it. I do remember him appearing on Three Sides a few years back, talking about his book, and I've been wanting to read the book ever since. So thanks to Anthony, he's hooking us up. So really excited to get the books and read it, and then be sure I'm sure we'll do like a little review here. I even offered the opportunity for Anthony to come on the show and discuss either any of the albums with us, or we could talk about the book too as well. So just wanted to give that shout out. So go check that out on Amazon.com. Anthony X, Kiss My Black Ass. It's got a lot of good reviews. Pretty entertaining read. So definitely can't wait to read it, and we'll be following up on that here down the road.
Absolutely.
All right. So again, as we've said before last week, we are done with the solo albums, and it's time to get back into the main Kiss discography. So we, of course, are now at Dynasty. Great album. It's we've talked about it before. It's one of the albums that's kind of grown on me over the last 5-10 years. It's become an album that I really enjoy as a whole now. In past, when I was younger, I used to only listen to like maybe 3 songs off the album, and that's all I'd ever play on there. But definitely enjoy it as a whole now. So this is going to be fun to get into. Couldn't wait to listen to the album again. It's always fun. So let's get caught up. I know we have some polls and everything else going on.
Indeed. Actually, a few comments to hit.
Cool.
Yeah, and if any of you watching now happen to miss it last week, my setup's different now. So if you see me looking off this way, because I have a screen there, I promise I'm not just ignoring you.
Multiple cams coming soon.
Yeah. So, actually going back to the Dress to Kill album review this time,
Wow.
realized we got a fairly new comment from Robbie Stars. This is actually a couple of weeks old now, just didn't catch it till now. Robbie says, update, ever since you guys killed it on this Dress to Kill episode, I can't stop listening to it. As of now, I'm changing my rating to a 9.5. So many great songs with killer production, and one thing that is great, that the drums are up front in the mix, and Peter is killing it. As of now, this one is my favorite out of the first 3 studio albums. Rock on, brothers.
Nice, man. Appreciate that.
Absolutely, yes.
So did that make any kind of significant change there?
It didn't, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep, but did get that factored in there. Yeah, it wasn't too much further up than what he had ranked it.
Yeah. Well, anybody that's watching this or listening, if you're a fan of Dress to Kill, do not hesitate. Send in your votes. If you're here in the chat, send it in right now if you didn't vote for it.
Yep. We will put it all in there. We want as much as possible. So even if it's just your overall ranking, you want to rank the whole album, either way, we will put it in there.
Absolutely.
All right. So jumping forward now to the Love Gun review. And we've got a comment from Anthony X. So, yeah, Anthony, good to see that name popping up more and more often now. Anthony says, Love Gun is the only 70s Kiss album I have this issue with, but to me, all the songs seem out of order and the album doesn't flow well. Without beating it up, I would still have opened it up with I Stole Your Love and then made Almost Human the second track, then Love Gun as track 3. Close side 1 with Shock Me, open up side 2 with Christine 16, and end side 2 with Tomorrow and Tonight. I have the same issue with Revenge. The order of the songs doesn't give the album a good flow. But because of the production, Love Gun is one of my least favorite studio Kiss albums, but I do love it more than its sister album, Rock and Roll Over. My top 3 songs are Got Love for Sale, which is my favorite 70s Kiss song, and I love Peter's big band swing style of drumming on it, and it's Ace's best solo on the album. Then She Kissed Me, love the rhythm guitar and the lead solo and Paul's delivery. And Hooligan, love Peter's playing and the mix on the drums. For its great songs, I give Love Gun a 9. Because of the production, I reduce it to a 5.
Wow. Pretty interesting take on that. So kind of like side 2 is kind of more the party side, it sounds like, and side 1's more the, the business, here's, we ain't playing around right now. I Stole Your Love and Almost Human. Yeah, that would be a pretty cool 1-2 punch right there, I got to admit.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Interesting take there. Looks like we might have a new Simon. Everybody was giving me crap for hating the production on Rock and Roll Over. It looks like I got an ally.
He probably talks about this in the book too, I'd imagine.
I bet so, yeah. And then finally, coming up to last week's episode, the Ace episode, we got quite a few comments here. We've got one from Carolina Hard Rock Metalhead. And they say, what's up, guys? I like your podcast. I have one, too. It's called Carolina Hard Rock Metalhead. I've been a fan since 1976. Check out some of my album reviews, and if you guys ever want to collaborate, I'm doing good. What a lot of fans and people don't understand, it's a life passion. Rock on.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you, man. That's really cool. I'm definitely going to check out the channel, and we are always up for collaborating. We recently... got to know the guys over at Kiss and Tell same way. So we are all for collaborating, man. Drop us a line. We'll be more than happy to set something up.
Absolutely.
And then, so we'll have to remind everyone again at the end about his channel to send everyone there too, because I don't want to forget it either.
Yes.
Matter of fact, right now, while I'm thinking about it, I'm sorry, Carolina
Hard Rock Metalhead.
Oh, nice. Rock and Roll Over logo there. All right, man. I just subbed to you. Yeah, you definitely got a lot of content, man. I'm definitely going to have to dig in and check it out.
Absolutely. Let's see. We also got a comment from Anthony X on this episode, too. So here, Anthony says, I give Ace's album a 10. And it's not only because he made a heavier hard rock album. To me, heavy doesn't mean better, which is why I'm not a big fan of Rock and Roll Over or Revenge. But Ace's album is the most creative and melodic guitar album I've ever heard. And every time I hear it, I always hear something new, an instrument or sound I missed the first million times I played it. Dynasty is my favorite 70s Studio Kiss album, but I've always said that Destroyer and Ace's album were the best studio albums in Kiss's 70s catalog because of their creativity and production and great songs. I used to hate Ozone as a kid, but as an adult, it's my favorite Ace song of all time, with Speedin' Back to My Baby and I'm in Need of Love following behind. What I love about Ace's voice in Kiss is he doesn't sing the lyrics, but he talks the lyrics, and that fits his voice and style well. In closing, my true confession is, ever since I was a kid, it always bothered the hell out of me that Ace's eyes are so uneven on the album cover. His left eye, where his hair is in his face, is lower than the right, and no matter how much I try, I can't unsee it. I always wondered how the artist or Kiss themselves didn't catch that before it went to the printing press. Another great show, guys.
Yeah, perhaps they were used to him looking like that back in those days.
Yeah, right, yeah. Thanks for ruining that album cover.
Robbie Starr says he agrees Love Gun's production is better than Rock and Roll Over, but Rock and Roll Over is all killer and no filler. Absolutely.
Can't argue with that. Absolutely. Hey, speaking of Robbie, we got a couple of comments from him on here. The next one here is in reference to Ace's album. He says, my top 5 are What's on Your Mind, I'm in Need of Love, Rip It Out, Speeding Back to My Baby, and Snowblind. I rated a 9. I always felt like this is the best solo album, but I will always like Gene's the most. Dynasty next, hell yeah. We'll come back to Robbie's other comment because it's about Dynasty itself. So we also got a comment from John Johnson, who urges us to visit activedating4.online.
Oh, that again, huh?
I know, yeah, it's every episode now. We're getting real popular.
And again, still no free memberships.
I know, it's ridiculous. It's not, all we want is to be sponsored by one of these porn sites, and we keep getting nothing. It's ridiculous. We got a comment from Thomas, our good buddy Rain in Adamstown, and he says, Attack of the Killer Lights, baby, ha-ha.
That was good timing as I'm sitting here screwing with them.
Yeah.
Look at that. What do you think? How bright's that?
Oh, it's the best. He says, the 78 Ace album is a little weird. I love 5 songs. New York Groove, Fractured Mirror, What's on Your Mind, Rip It Out, and Speedin' Back to My Baby. I give the album a 6.5 because the other songs are really not good. Don't understand me wrong, I am a big Ace fan, but that is because I love Spaceman, Trouble Walking, or Second Sighting so much. Was a little shocked you liked the studio version of Creatures live version better. If there is one song that Kiss never did well on stage, it's that one. The darkness, the groove, the solo guitars, the evil-sounding lead vocals, all that is lost if they play it live. So happy to have a reason to celebrate New Year's Eve with the live stream. And now we know where you live, Firehouse City, where the sirens scream. Yeah, there's always something going on in my neighborhood for some reason.
Nice to hear a very true rating on that Ace album. I mean, a lot of people, it's nothing but 8s, 9s, 10s that we've been hearing, but 6.5. Wow, that's pretty honest.
Yep. And that's why we do this. If we all agreed, what would be the point?
Yeah. There was something else he said in there I was going to touch on. I forget.
Was it the Creatures thing?
Yeah. Well, I guess I can agree. Like in recent years when they have played Creatures, yeah, it sounded a bit flat. But man, I'm sorry, but that Alive 3 era, and even when they did it, live during the Creatures tour, with Eric Carr, I mean. I just felt like it has such more power and attitude to it. I mean, my God, look at what especially during that tour, Gene's sitting there just
jumping up and down and
killing his knees.
Yeah.
Oh my God, just the visual of that.
There are only two things that have always irked me about the live version of the Creatures, and otherwise I don't really have a favorite either way. But the two things, one thing that I used to complain about a lot with Sweet Pain was them extending the guitar solos.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they did that live. Sometimes it works, but I dislike that about Creatures. I like the studio guitar solo. I like where it goes, the short space it encapsulates, what it accomplishes, and Bruce's solo on a live 3 doesn't strike me as well, which is strange because usually Bruce's solos work for me.
Yeah.
But then the other thing is, and I don't know how to other than to play it during the that bit, the solo part that goes. I don't like that. Don't like that one bit. Never played it live when we did it.
Yeah. Total Vinny thing.
Yeah, I do not like that bit. Let's see. So we also got a comment from Zep Pearl Vance, who was in last week, right?
Yep.
And he says, okay, my list of my favorite Ace solo Kiss LP songs. This was tough and could change next week, which is absolutely true. We say that all the time, too. His top 3 this time were New York Groove, Speeding Back to My Baby, and Rip It Out. So got those put in along with all the other ones that everybody said. And that changed. Just one small thing. New York Groove went up to number 6 from number 7, and Ozone went down to number 7 from number 6.
Ooh. Let's get that flipped back around.
Yeah, I had already forgotten. I know this was only a week ago, but I had already forgotten that New York Groove was that far down the ranking. It's kind of surprising. And then let's see, the last one we've got is Robbie's other comment, which is about Dynasty, the one we're doing today. Robbie says, my Dynasty ranking, I give it a 9. I was made for loving you. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I've read that wrong. He gave us his whole ranking list, which I have put in. His top 3, Dirty Livin', Charisma, and Magic Touch. He says, I like Dynasty quite a lot. This is one of the few albums I have a hard time rating because most of these songs could be in my top 3. Just a great album. Definitely in my top 3 favorite albums. The songwriting is definitely on another level, and there's some gems on this album. I'd give this an 11 because of the great tunes and Anton's drumming, but I'll stick with a 10. Another reason I was so excited for this was the return of Kiss after the solo albums because I thought they were breaking up. Then I get this as a present and loved it ever since. And yes, I put side 2 on first because Charisma on the album cover was the first song. And I thought, wow, what a great album opener. And it's finally Gene. Oops. Well, then I realized when I flipped the record over, great memories. I still listen to this religiously. Dynasty rules.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about those, random listings on the back of the album covers there with a few of these albums.
Yeah.
Love
that
Gun,
was really weird.
Love Gun had it. I believe Rock and Roll Over had it. And now this one.
Just all over, yeah. All right, so some interesting things going on in the polls this week, too. As you guys know, we wrapped round 4 up last week with 5 matches. So real quick, those matches, we had Tears Are Falling versus Love Gun. Love Gun takes that just barely, 57% of the vote.
Wow.
Yeah. We had Love 'Em and Leave 'Em versus Going Blind. This was another really close one. Going Blind takes it with 55%.
Over Love 'Em and Leave 'Em?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess.
Yeah, that was a difficult one for me. We had Mr. Speed versus King of the Nighttime World. King of the Nighttime World takes that with 60% to that vote.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we ended round 4 with a couple of kicks in the balls. We had Firehouse versus Shock Me. Shock Me takes that one. Landslide, 79%. And then finally, we had the demon mashup of the century, War Machine versus God of Thunder.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm a bit disappointed, I won't lie. God of Thunder wins with 62%.
And that one even got a second chance, right?
Yeah, that came back after losing in round 3, I think. So yeah, that's ooh.
that one was definitely tough, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So this week, instead of having 6 new matches for round 5, that will be coming next week. This week we have our round 4 second chance, and this only happens when we end up with an odd number of songs in a round because every song has to have a match. So we're doing a second chance where we take the top-rated 6 songs that have already lost and throw them together. You only get to pick one, and whichever one has the most votes comes back in the new round. So that's what we're doing right now. If you go over to our Facebook page, the Kiss Meets the Podcast group, which is a closed group, but you can request to join it, and we accept everybody. So if you're not in there, get in there so that you can vote on these and post some other interesting Kiss stuff. What we've got going on right now, this is a 6-song mashup like we were talking about. The 6 that you can go check out right now: Rocket Ride, A Million to One, Hate, I'm a Legend Tonight, Who Wants to Be Lonely, and Let Me Go Rock and Roll.
And I believe as of right now, Rocket Ride is in the lead.
I could totally see that.
So please get over and get those votes in. What's up, Mike?
All right. Ready for album info?
You.
All right. So if you guys don't know already, we're doing Dynasty. Dynasty today. Here, I was going to make a sarcastic joke, but I ruined it. Dynasty today.
Dynasty.
Yeah. Dynasty, that's right. Hey, there, Robbie's saying A Million to One better win. I think Savannah can get on board with that.
Better get over there and vote on it, man. If you can.
So Dynasty is the 7th studio album by Kiss. That's, of course, discounting the live albums and the solo albums. This is just the 7th straight studio album by them. This album was released May 1st, 1979, recorded throughout January and February 1979, recorded at Electric Lady Studios and Record Plant Studios, both in New York City, produced by Vinnie Poncia, who Eagle Eyes should know also produced Peter's solo album and also produced the following Kiss album, Unmasked. This is the first time that they all got back together after having done Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park and also their solo albums. So it's kind of curious what they were going to do. I believe they used Vinnie Poncia in an effort to keep Peter in the band because both Peter and Ace were expressing interest to leave still at this point. And then in some weird twist of fate, Vinnie himself was like, you know what? Peter's drumming sucks. Let's not use him.
Oh, what a Spinal Tap moment.
You're right. Also, according to Wikipedia, I thought this was interesting. There's conflicting accounts as to why Peter didn't play. I'm trying to find this information again. I read it earlier and now I've lost it.
He was on too much coke and drinking.
Right. Yes, apparently Peter has tried to say that it was because he was in a car crash and so he had too many hand injuries and he was struggling. And I believe that I read that in the Kiss Behind the Mask book too. Somebody other than Peter said something about that he had gotten in a car crash and couldn't play. But Vinnie has said that he was just too coked up and drinking too much, and they couldn't get him to do what he needed to do.
And then 5 years later, Rick Allen's like, "Hold my beer."
Right.
Oh, you hurt your hands and can't play.
I'm gonna play on this album without one of my arms. Okay, so personnel on this album, kind of interesting here. According to Wikipedia, I noticed in the very first sentence on the Wikipedia entry, it says, the second sentence, this is the first time that none of the songs appearing on the album feature all 4 original members together. However, they don't mention any other musicians having played on Dirty Livin'. So,
I still don't believe that when it comes to it live too. I still don't believe that all 4 originals played on every one of those songs.
Nope, that last side, definitely.
Even though I like to pretend it is, just like with this album and everything else. But
Yep. So what this says, it says Paul Stanley, vocals, rhythm guitar, and also bass on I Was Made for Loving You, and lead guitar on Sure Know Something and Magic Touch. Gene Simmons, vocals, bass except for I Was Made for Loving You, 2000 Man, Hard Times, and Save Your Love, and he also apparently played rhythm guitar on X-Ray Eyes. Ace, vocals, lead guitar, and then also all guitars and bass on his 3 songs, 2000 Man, Hard Times, and Save Your Love. And then Peter, who played drums and lead vocals only on Dirty Livin'. And we've also got Anton Fig, who played drums on the whole album except Dirty Livin'. And then Vinny Poncia, who, in addition to producing the album, also did percussion, backing vocals, and keyboards.
So, God, I don't recall hearing that Paul played bass on I Was Made for Loving You. That's kind of blowing my mind.
Yeah, it's crazy to see some of these who played on what. And like I said, Wikipedia seems to contradict itself. If it wasn't the other 4 guys playing their respective instruments on Dirty Livin', who was it? You know?
And then, I never thought about it too. So this album essentially came out roughly, 8 months after the solo albums?
Yeah. Yep.
See, I never thought about it in that perspective too. So, I mean, less than a year, because to me it always felt like a little bit like maybe even 2 years, it almost felt like that big of a gap in between. But wow, kind of crazy to think that just less than a year, and then how different it was already.
Yeah, absolutely. So this album did get up to number 9 on the U.S. Billboard chart. We had 2 singles from this album, I Was Made for Loving You and Sure Know Something. And what else? This has been certified platinum.
I know Dirty Living was the B-side on, I believe, Loving You, and Hard Times, I believe, was the B-side on the other one.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. I clicked on them, but that information doesn't seem to be easily... This says Hard Times for I Was Made for Loving You.
Okay, so I must have it backwards. And then, of course, we had the extended disco version of I Was Made that they put out on a 12-inch single.
Oh, horrible. Oh dear Lord! Oh
what?
God. I just realized I didn't freaking rank this. Oh my God! Oh, genius move.
You guys will not believe how many times we all get on here and then realize that we forgot to sit here and rank the songs.
Yeah. Oh God.
Because we'll listen, jot the songs down as we're going, and then all of a sudden, bam, forgot.
Yep. I made extensive notes. I did the true confession. I wrote my overall, and then I didn't do the most important part. Oh, dear Jesus.
I ran across a video about, it was the Vakken Festival, their channel.
Yeah.
And they did a video on John 5. And he's in his Kiss room, and he does a little tour. Oh my God, man, my jaw was just dropping at the stuff he has.
Oh, that dude is such a Kiss fan.
He has got to be the hands down best Kiss collection I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, he has Ace's actual cape from the Dynasty tour. He's got Ace's boots from the Dynasty tour and the jumpsuit. He's got freaking jeans. Bat wingsuit from like Hotter Than Hell.
Holy crap.
And Paul's belt from the Hotter Than Hell.
Wow.
I was just like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right, Robbie. He said there's also a disco version of Dirty Living, which is really grooving.
Nice.
More time to snort coke.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys didn't see that, jump on YouTube, check out the Vakken channel, and check out that John 5 video. It's amazing the stuff he has. Killer. And then he plays some of his favorite Kiss riffs and some other, like stuff that he wrote himself. And
Yeah, I have seen a video of him playing his favorite Kiss riffs on one of Paul Stanley's Iceman guitars,
yeah,
and that's pretty crazy.
He said it starts off like a Bee Gees song. It's been a while since I've heard that version. I'm going to have to pull it up and listen to it for about 30 seconds.
Right.
Yeah, this is totally off topic, but now that you mentioned the Bee Gees, it reminds me I just about finished reading Rex Brown from Pantera's book, and he mentions that one of the guys he started working with down the road is actually Barry Gibb's son, and this dude, he played bass in Black Label Society, and then like played on I think a Crowbar album, and this was Barry Gibb's son. And I never knew that.
Wow.
I never knew Barry Gibb's son played bass in Black Label.
That is hilarious.
Mark Stewart just got here. What did I miss? Not much, man. We just covered all the comments and polls and a little bit of news, and we're actually just now getting ready to jump into this album. So perfect time, man. And if you haven't given us a vote on this album, go ahead and drop it, man. Don't be afraid. So you ready?
Oh yeah.
All right. So of course we start the album off with "I Was Made for Loving You," and this is number 4. Yeah, this is the reason this album gets the notoriety of being a quote disco album. But again, I always argue that to me there's some fairly heavy type stuff on this album, and I've always said if anything's more of a disco-y album, it's Unmasked to me. But yes, this one song and Dirty Living, maybe the remix is disco-y, but anyway, this so wow, I'm still kind of blown that Paul played the bass line on this, but this is like one of the best Kiss bass lines in the whole discography, I think. And Gene definitely nails it, because every time they play it live, it to me sounds pretty much like the album. And he definitely nails it. You gotta love the video too, with his over the top pantomiming that he does with his fingers. And so I mean, my God, like what's there to say like that isn't obvious? I mean, the vocals are great, the harmonies. I love the after the whole high can't get enough and then it goes to that big fill like
Yeah.
I love that. Every time I hear that, I just love the sound of those high toms that Anton hits. And yeah, it's another great song, and it kind of makes you feel good too, and it's just a song that it's kind of infectious. Like no matter who you are, you're gonna end up singing along to it at the shows. And I know Paul has always kind of made that joke where they'd be playing one of those festivals with all these metal bands, and you see these guys out there, the way they dress, and next thing you know, they're out there singing. But, I mean, that's just how infectious that song is. It's definitely a classic, and it's another one of them songs that you can almost say like it's Paul's theme song in a way. But definitely cool, and again, a total different way to open the album. Probably not what people were expecting, of course. Again, coming off of Love Gun Alive 2, and then even the solo album stuff, it was like you probably wasn't expecting this to be the first thing you hear. But again, as the years go on, it turns into a giant of what it is nowadays.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you guys haven't seen this too, you should definitely jump into YouTube and search. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it's something about the one Kiss song Gene Simmons hates playing, and it's this song. And his explanation of it is just classic. It's absolutely perfect. I love it.
up there with Take Me.
Yeah. So this one is number 5 for me. And you know what? I'll say it. Finally, a 70s Kiss album with perfect production.
There you go.
I'll say it. I've been complaining about it on albums people didn't expect to hear complaints over. This album sounds freaking great. Every single song, the mix is perfect. You can hear the guitars, the bass, the vocals, the drums. Every single drum you can hear. These disco-y sounding ones, that bass drum just pounds you in the chest, which, I mean, that's what it needs. Everything is as clear as it could possibly be, in addition to this song, being worthy of the praise it gets.
Right on. Mark Stewart says he loves this album. The rest of this rocks hard. He also said he really, really dug the remix of Dirty Living. He has the YouTube version stored on his phone. Also has that extended version of I Was Made for Loving You that we mentioned. Cool stuff. Next up is 2000 Man. We get our first track from Ace here. This ended up being number 1 this time. For those that aren't familiar, this is a cover song originally done by the Rolling Stones. I don't think the original version is that bad. I know some people give it a lot of crap, but I don't think it's horrible. But I love this version. I didn't know it was a cover song until however many years ago, a couple years. I mean, all my life, I just thought this was a song that Ace wrote. It seemed like it fit him well. My name is a number. It's on a piece of plastic film, meaning a playing card. That's how I always pictured it. And again, you kind of touched on this with I Was Made, how that kick drum and that low end hits you. I mean, bam, right off the bat with the tom and everything, boom, boom, and then when it all kicks in, that I love that. It just really gets you going. You start bobbing your head, and I like the way the lyrics flow. I've always enjoyed the content of what the lyrics are and how he kind of changed them up here and there very slightly to kind of fit him a little more. And then kind of, I don't know if this may be the first time, but as far as I could think, it's kind of the first time that we get like basically 2 solos from Ace and within one song. There's kind of like 2 different solo sections. But yeah, just a great rocking song. This has always been kind of one of those Ace staple songs too. They always, put this in the set list, when Ace was back in the band, and even that unplugged version was very good. And that was kind of I don't know, in a way that was kind of the song that really kind of sparked the reunion in a way. It seemed like when they did that song is when they all kind of started looking at each other like, But yeah, so check out the original by the Stones if you guys haven't heard it. It's on YouTube. But love this song.
As far as Kiss playing covers go, yeah, I think this one feeds more towards King of the Nighttime World than it does, say, Then She Kissed Me. They've done covers before that's like, okay, I'm not mad that it's there, but whereas stuff like this one and King of the Nighttime World, it's almost hard to imagine those aren't just Kiss songs,
Yeah. Oh, it was even more absurd when I found out about King of the Nighttime World. I'm like, no.
Not that one.
Bull.
Not that one. Yes. Anything but that one. Yes. So this one is my number 9. However, I never really cared how long the drums do that tom backbeat. I like when everything comes in, but every time I feel like the beginning of the song goes so long before it jumps in. But honestly, though, I just don't give this song enough credit most of the time. It was my number 9 last time we did this. It still is. But last time it was because I didn't like the song very much. This time I just liked the other ones more. This one did catch me this time. It is a really catchy tune. And also, can we talk for a second about how weird it is that the second track is an Ace lead vocal? It's not a Gene lead vocal. 3 Ace songs versus 2 Gene songs. We don't get a freaking Gene vocal till the front of side 2. How weird is that?
That is crazy to think. And is that leverage coming off of the solo albums where Ace pretty much demanded, like, okay, I won the bet.
Yeah. You got to wonder.
But I mean, look, Ace coming off of doing a cover of New York Groove and then this. I mean, this blows New York Groove away, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mark says 2000 Man was cool because I like to believe that Ace read the future. Having an affair with a random computer reminds me of Pornhub in the year 2000 and up. Absolutely. Robbie says 2000 Man is miles better than the Rolling Stones version. It was cool to hear Kiss play this in 2000 live. So Ace was the two. Yeah, that was a cool moment on that Millennium concert when they played it. I believe it was right after the ball drop they played it. So that was perfect. And
genius move.
When I was younger, I used to think the lyric was having an affair with a random coke user. Was the way I always heard it when I was young. So, and again, I was like, well, that's Ace. That's perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Next is Sure Know Something. Number 2 for me. Again, bass lines. Yeah, we don't get a Gene vocal yet, but man, this is like, to me, like almost a Gene, like Gene just owns this song from the bass line in a way. I mean, don't get me wrong, Paul's vocals are amazing on here as well. Love the solo with, kind of not, I don't want to say rare, but, Paul doing a solo, which it didn't feel like we got a lot of those, especially by this point. But this has just always been one of them songs that I grew up with. And, it just kind of has, it almost has as much meaning to me as something like, like, dare I say, Rock and Roll All Night, because it's just one of them that I used to listen to this song almost as much. And, I know my dad was always a fan of the bass line. We'd always jam this song when we'd have little jam sessions and stuff. And pretty cool video along with it too. And, it was cool to see. But, again, just another solid song. And again, going to the Unplugged session, I thought it sounded even better on the Unplugged than it did on this album. But definitely a great song overall. It's too bad that they never performed it live other than, Unplugged and Symphony. But, it just unfortunately never translated too well in the regular shows, doing it full electric and everything. But it would have been cool to see.
For sure. Yep, this is my number 1 this time, actually. Oh. Yes. The bass part, I gotta say, it just really makes the track. This song would not be even half as cool without that bass line. And honestly, I didn't think that it was Gene for a long time. To me, this didn't seem like that something that Gene would have thought up. The main part, now other bits of it, I was actually a bit surprised the first time I looked at the personnel on Wikipedia to see that it was, or at least they don't not say it was Gene. they don't say it was somebody else. So definitely excited to see that. But yeah, the Paul solo is the other thing that sticks out to me on this. It's not like he hadn't done solos on previous songs, but I think this is the number 1 Paul solo for me. This one catches me. It connects to me. It's not what you'd expect from Paul. It's not just a simple, boxy, easy. There's some stuff in there,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I love, like, in the video, how the way he's, like, bending the strings there towards the end of it. And then, of course, that little scratch and everything. And
yeah,
I've always loved that. Yeah. It's little things like that made me want to play guitar at one point in my life. Just the way certain guys made it look. Brian May was one of them too. He just made me want to play guitar because of the way he played. Mark, I love that we're getting this extra commentary on the songs as we're going. Yeah. Keep it up, guys. Sure Know Something was great because the one thing that sticks out in his brain is the video. Yep, where Paul points to his star while singing "I've Been Starry-Eyed." Good catch, man.
Classic.
Oh, and Robbie just came in. He said he loves Sure Know Something. Loves how Anton changes the bass drum pattern on the last chorus. Pretty good. Yeah. yeah, Anton just on fire on this album.
Yes.
All right, so then we go into Dirty Livin', the one and only Peter track, of course. And as we mentioned earlier, Luke mentioned earlier, this is the only track that he plays on, apparently. This one came in at number 8. Savannah, what's up? So anyway, number 8 for me this time. And I kind of remember touching on this the last time we did this album. Is part of it is like it's a cool song. Yeah, it's got a good groove, and it has grown on me over the years. But at the same time, it's like it's basically Peter talking about doing drugs and being on, and it's like I don't really want to hear, one of my heroes, talking about that kind of stuff and almost like glorifying it in a way, the way this song is. And so that was why this song used to be one of those that I would always skip and not listen to. But I will admit that it's grown on me enough now that I can definitely sit and listen to it more. And I definitely won't say it's one of Peter's best songs. I might even put it at the bottom of the list, to be honest. But other than that, cool little groove. I do like the the lick, and then the vocals going with it. But other than that, just don't really want to hear somebody, bragging about their drug adventures and whatnot.
Right. Oh, that just goes to show you how little I pay attention to lyrics. This is actually my number 2 this time. This one really, it's always catch me. I feel like this is another of the many underrated Peter ones, like a lot of the really early albums. That's what it is. I just love drugs so freaking much. Yeah, no, this song has always been catchy to me. Just the whole thing, that intro, da 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 da. The chorus is catchy. The guitar solo is so cool. Ace utilizing that feedback. I don't know how I feel about it happening twice in the song. That feels a little weird, but when it first happens, it's really cool. I always like this one.
Yeah, I forgot to mention too about the the Ace playing. Like, again, there's a lot of Ace where it's just them little things. And I do like on here, and then that ding, 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 ding. I just love that little like chunk thing he does, and just the tone of it, man. A little bit of those rings in there.
Yep.
Mark loves the swagger of Dirty Livin'. I walk with a swagger. Well, we flipped the record over already at this point, only 4 songs in. And we open up with Charisma. We get our first Gene track here, and it's a doozy. This is number 3. This is it's such a weird song at the same time, but man, it's so freaking cool. It's again something you don't expect. I love that just driving groove to it. That kick drum just kind of thumping throughout the song, and I love that effect that's on Gene's voice. And again, it's just kind of that perfect, him, kind of that, ladies' man type song, talking about what draws him to the girls or vice versa, that kind of deal. But yeah, it's so cool. It took a while to grow on me, but I think one thing that really got this song stuck was that year that Gene was at the expo, and got to meet him, and they were playing a loop of Gene songs, and this was one of them that I kept hearing throughout the day, and it eventually just kind of stuck with me, and then just that whole experience. But it's like it's very cool. This song almost sounds like it could have possibly been on the solo album, but I'm glad it wasn't at the same time, because it definitely gives Gene a good spotlight on this album. Just a great, awesome, weird song, and I'm glad Gene finally started performing it, at least with his solo band there recently, and I think they think they even pulled it out on a Kiss cruise recently, a year or two ago or whatever. But pretty cool.
Definitely. This one's number 8 for me this time, and it really truly just is because I had to put it somewhere. And not because I dislike it. This is a really cool Gene song. If he only had to have 2, I'm glad it was these 2. I like both of the ones he's got on this. One weird thing about this that I really like is that the mix really prioritizes his bass over the guitars. And on a normal occasion, probably not the smart idea, but on this, it just fits it because you picture him playing it, and it prioritizes his vocal and that bass line just perfect.
Yeah, and up until this point, we didn't really get anything like that.
Yeah.
Now, of course, there's a pretty notable song on the upcoming album that is going to do that again, but at this point in time, we don't know that.
Exactly. Yes. And the guitars they put those little fills on the end of each line because they're, most of it, they're just kind of palm muting, chunking through some of it. So it wasn't that important really. So it was an interesting, I read the name of the guy who mixed this. I forget now, but good on him.
Yeah.
It gives the song a totally different dynamic than the whole rest of the album. Now, playing this one live was interesting. I liked While Sweet Pain did this one. Although it really points out why cover bands that only do the top 40 and the popular stuff make so much money and play around so much. Playing in front of a general audience, people didn't know what this song was. They had no clue what it was. They didn't care about it. They'd sit down, whereas they were dancing before. They only care about the obvious ones. That sucks a little bit.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that, at least the beat to it would kind of get people moving and dancing a little bit, but yeah, it was, again, it's just one of them that never really translated well live, and that kind of makes sense why Kiss never did it, and Gene just now started doing it just probably for the hell of it. So.
Right.
Robbie said, going back to Dirty Living real quick, Ace is on fire on Dirty Living, just a great solo and guitar work. And then moving back up here, Mark says he loves Charisma. The groove was awesome, and Gene's suave vocal just makes this song unforgettable. Yes. Not to mention the part where he yells, "Ha!" after the verses. Yes.
Yeah.
Those are cool too. Charisma always sounded like a Destroyer song, says Robbie. Fair enough.
Interesting.
I don't know why, but in a weird way, I always feel like Charisma is kind of the sequel to Almost Human.
I can see that.
Like, I don't know if I've ever played them back to back, and if it would make sense, but I don't know. To me, it just, for some reason, I kind of get that same vibe.
They're in the same key. That probably would work.
Well, there you go. I know we've talked about this stuff, like even with the fractured mirrors. It's like one of these days you need to sit down and put together the, see how all this stuff sounds.
Yeah.
Putting them together. All right, so we go into Magic Touch, and this ended up being number 9 this time. Not a bad song. Again, it was kind of the sake of having to put it somewhere, but compared to the rest of the songs on this album, other than Dirty Living, I felt like this one just kind of was getting a little repetitive to me. It always kind of does. It's kind of a little, I hate to use the word boring, but it gets kind of like, okay, it's a cool song, Paul's vocals, but sometimes it's like, okay, hurry up and end, because I know what's coming next, and there's have a little more pep to them, and kind of definitely keep my attention. So yeah, unfortunately, this one just ends up coming in at the bottom.
Yeah. Yep. This is number 7 for me this time. And yeah, definitely agree. I've always really liked this song. It just needs more. There needs to be more stuff in it. The chorus repeats over and over and over and over at the end, and that's annoying. However, I do kind of wish they had done this one live. I feel like it would have been a pretty okay live song. And Paul did do this one on that one live Kiss DVD with his Live to Win band. That was kind of cool to see.
Yeah.
That's one of the highlights, I think, of that. When I put that DVD in, that's one of the songs I'm waiting to hear. But
I'll admit that version does have something more to it to me than that studio version does. I mean, that's a great concert anyway.
yeah, it just hits something about it hits better live. But I think again, I think they could have avoided that if there had just been some more to this song, just in general.
Hmm.
But this one, I can't really say this of Peter because he's only got the one song on here. But this is the song for me that I feel like uh, this could have been on Paul's solo album. It
Oh
makes
yeah,
sense with the other songs on Paul's solo album.
and that, you know, maybe that has something to do with my thoughts on and the way I feel when I hear it, because it kind of does put me in that vibe of Paul's solo album.
Yeah, I think all of them have that except maybe Peter. I don't know that Dirty Livin' would have worked on his, but
Yeah.
all three of the others, I feel a strong resemblance to the solo album stuff.
Now, granted, Dirty Living is probably more along the lines of what people might have wanted
Yeah,
on Peter's album, and not that there's not stuff on there that isn't fairly close, if not similar, but
Mhm.
I, you know, I still think it works well for what it is.
Yep.
So we get another track here from the Spaceman, Ace Frehley, "Hard Times," number 5. This is one of my favorite Ace songs of all time. I feel like it's one of his most underrated. God, that drum fill at the beginning of the song, very infectious. Cool groove right away with the guitar riff, and you know, Ace's vocals again. Just I like how they sound on here. It's you know, and again, it's like kind of I feel like it's almost the opposite of what Peter's talking about in his song. Like, you know, that Ace is kind of living up at the time. Not that, because I don't think he was truly sober, but he was trying, I guess, at this point. And you know, he's kind of talking about the stuff he went through. But I mean, it's definitely a catchy song, and you know, I always love the part where, you know, I'm on the right track. I'm finally on the right track. You know, all that stuff. Very, very sing along, and just like I said, a great Ace song that I feel like is a little underrated.
Absolutely. Yeah, I guess I hadn't really thought about that, but that's a good point. Peter's is like celebrating excess, whereas Ace's this whole song is about rising above it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. Number 3 for me this time, and this is the one that it feels like Ace is channeling that solo album. Not that it's hard to draw that comparison here, considering it's Ace playing all the instruments and Anton drumming. I mean, that's exactly what Ace did on a solo album. But the use of the acoustic guitar behind the electric guitars brings it to mind. It's not quite as loud here as it was on a solo, but it's right where it needs to be. Honestly, I kind of wish that this one had been on a solo album, maybe in place of "I'm in Need of Love," one of the weaker ones from his album. I could see this, but I'm also curious who had the idea to let the second half of the guitar solo be backwards. I don't dislike it, but I feel like it was a weird choice. You know?
Ace living up to that character. That was cool.
Yeah.
Savannah says, "I always forget about Hard Times till I hear it." And I agree. It's in top 5 for my favorite Ace song. Don't hesitate to jump in, Savannah, if you want. Get on the cam. Robbie says Magic Touch is better than 90% of Paul's solo album.
I think it would go good along, you know, Wouldn't You Like to Know Me and It's All Right and stuff. Some of the better ones, totally.
Yeah. All right, so next up is our second and only Gene song, or second and last Gene song, I should say. X-Ray Eyes, number 7. This one's got a cool groove to it. Again, to use the underrated term, I feel like this is kind of an underrated Gene song. I love when it goes to the chorus, the notes he's hitting on the vocals, and then the background comes right under that. And, again, the little tiny things. There's this part, I believe it's after the solo, and then he goes back into the chorus, and it's when they go X-ray, and you hear this real quick like, like
Yeah.
something that I don't know what Anton's doing there or what, but I just love the way that sounds, and they kind of put like some sort of effect on it, and it sounds like it sort of travels between the speakers or something. But
Yeah,
just,
definitely.
again, just little things like that sometimes are what catches me the most out of songs sometimes, and just like, oh, that's really cool. I love that sound. Yeah, really cool Gene song, and yeah, this one may have fit on the solo album as well, and for that matter, it kind of, to me feels like it could have fit on Love Gun even.
I can totally see that. Yeah. Yeah, X-Ray Eyes 4 for me. I feel like, at least for me, this is the most underrated track on this album. This is one I get that weird nostalgia that I've mentioned a couple of times for this song as well. I think it comes back to that Dad played mixtapes from every era rather than full albums, and so just such weird songs give me that feeling. And this is definitely one of them.
Nice.
And then the other note I put was that this could have been on the solo album. However, I feel like if Gene's whole solo album had been like Radioactive, that's where this song comes in. I feel like this one fits really well with Radioactive.
I mean, I'd have rather had this than another version of, See You in Your Dreams.
Yeah.
Robbie said he remembers playing to this song over and over on the drums and thinking that Peter really sounds great, especially that offbeat part before the second chorus. But oops, it was Anton.
Oops.
All right. Well, we come to the end of the album already. Save Your Love, again, an ace track. An ace track ending the album on top of that. This is number 6. I like the kind of odd start that this one has, the bam, 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 and then it just goes right into the lyrics, and I love Gene's vocal in this song. Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Save Your Love. Just I like all of these ace tracks on this album. I feel like they're all pretty strong. I don't feel like they're, rushed or, just slop or anything like that. I feel like these songs are more of an extension of what was on his solo album than almost any of the other songs on here by the other members. Bar a few songs like we were saying, but yeah, Save Your Love. Interesting chorus there when it goes into it with the kind of different, but I there's not really much left I can say. It's just a good solid song, and I like Ace's vocals are on par to me, and it's a solid ending to the album.
Yeah, I would bet that I don't have any money, but I bet some money that the chorus vocals in this song were Paul's idea. It sounds like Paul singing to me. And
yeah, you can definitely hear Paul over everybody else.
Yeah. Let's see. So this was number 5 for me. And yeah, I've always enjoyed the song. I always forget it's an Ace song, too. It's this one, I get this one and Love in Chains confused sometimes. Yeah. And so when I see this song title, sometimes I think, oh, it's a Paul song. No, it's totally an Ace song. And also a weird thing that I caught here that I've never caught before. Near the end, there's that bit where it's just Anton playing, just drums.
Yeah.
And is that the first double bass on a Kiss album? Because it's not real long, but just a... And I'm like, hey...
I think you're right. Because up to this point, there's nothing that's remotely double bass.
No. See, before I would have said that it was Eric Carr on The Oath being the first, but now that if Anton did that with one foot, I'd be really surprised.
Yeah. And he may have. Hard to say.
Yeah.
What number was this one for you?
5.
5, that's right. Robbie said X-Ray Eyes is so underrated, and his vocals are his normal voice, and he kills it. No Cookie Monster, thank God.
Yeah.
All right, well, we come to the end of the album here. We'll just go ahead and do the overall rankings real quick, and then we'll get into some true confessions. So if you guys have any in the chat, get them ready to go, and also let us know your overall rankings for the album as well. So overall, I give this one a 7, mainly because, again, we only get 9 tracks. It's like, come on, squeeze out at least one more song. Like, something about 9 tracks versus 10 just irks me, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, a great comeback album for Kiss after the whole solo album. Whether you want to look at it good or bad, everyone's got their different opinions about it. I made it clear multiple times that I, in the long run, would have wished they never did the solo albums, but it is what it is. But this was definitely a good comeback, and again, there were some unexpected moments. Opening the album with something like "I Was Made for Loving You," no one expected anything like that from Kiss, and getting 3 ace songs, quality ace songs at that. That was kind of another surprise that I'm sure people enjoyed, especially after hearing his solo album. And you mentioned on it, I think at the very beginning, is the production great. To me, it sounds pretty close to what Love Gun sounds, but I'm sure there are some differences sonically and whatnot. I mean, I could definitely tell a difference from the Alive 4 studio tracks. I could tell a difference from those between Love Gun and this, but with these 2 albums, it's like I love how they both sound. Even if there's a slight difference, it's like, it's still enough that I love how they both sound either way. I mean, the tour, I guess didn't unfortunately go as long as they hoped. Kind of started tanking a little bit. Matter of fact, they did the very last show here in Ohio, in Toledo, up north. So that kind of an interesting thing there as well. But I mean, that's the main reason it fell to a 7, is just missing that one song, and then if it wasn't for that, that's really about all that does it.
Definitely. Yeah. 7 for me as well. What a refresher after the hit and miss solo album saga, though. Just all 4 of them as a whole, as we talked about several times, that just felt like every single one of them was like, there's some good songs, and then there's some really, those weren't necessary. And this album is not that. This album is produced absolutely beautiful. And I can't help but wonder if Kiss shouldn't have been using Vinnie Poncia earlier. You know what I mean? Was it him? Was it whoever mixed this? Or was it just that technology had gotten to a point that they were able to get those clearer drum sounds? I think that's what really does it for me. And I kind of doubt they knew that this would provide results so good at the time. They really did just use this guy trying to keep Peter in the band, even though he wasn't a rock producer. And geez, it came out great. A lot of people call this a disco album, but honestly, that just isn't fair. There are a few songs kind of dominated by that feel. I Was Made for Loving You, Sure Know Something, and Dirty Livin' probably have the most of any of the others. But this is such a straightforward rock album other than those. And I think that this album shows a lot of growth for those guys as individuals. And I mean that both as a compliment and also a little bit of a negative. I think the solo albums fueled that. You know what I mean? I heard more than any other time I've listened to this album the influence of those solo albums in the respective songs on this album. And the downside, why that wouldn't just be a compliment, is that I think this is where Kiss loses something in their music that doesn't come back until Sonic Boom and Monster, to me.
Wow.
And that is, I hear the last fading light of the band going into the studio and making music together as a unit. Because that's gone from here clear up until Sonic Boom. You hear tons of studio musicians, or throughout the 80s, they weren't together doing these. They were multi-tracking them and that sort of thing, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But as we know, Peter only played one song on this. We've already lost the original band, but they really start taking the studio musicians to heart on this album and making this more about the individuality of their songwriting and less about what they bring to each other's music. You know, I think you can hear Paul and Gene on the background vocals of a couple of songs that aren't theirs, but other than that, it's hard to tell any influence that, you know, if Ace's influence on a Paul song. I hear no Ace influence in I Was Made for Loving You. That's
Right.
him playing the solo, but he didn't write any part of that. You know what I mean? We know that Paul and Gene weren't even on Ace's songs. What that chemistry that they had because they made it together starts to crumble here and then just disappears from here on out until they intentionally did it that way again for Sonic Boom and Monster. And even though it's a different feel, it's that same idea. So overall, this remains near to the top of my 70s Kiss albums for its productions and the fact that all the songs are good, but knowing you can definitely tell this doesn't have the same feel as any of the earlier albums.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, like, you know, like kind of like I was saying, you know, everyone expected something to continue on the Love Gun track or whatever, which again, I kind of feel like had they have done that instead of the solo albums, this album probably would have sounded like that. But but again, it's kind of funny because there were little times, certain songs or certain parts of songs where it's like, this kind of sounds like, you know, something that could be on Love Gun or even relate to a Love Gun song. And so it's almost like there's tiny glimpses of that, but for the most part, it's just like, it's a whole different band now, you know.
Right.
Things had changed that much just in the matter of like not even 2 years, basically.
Right. And again, it's like it's not necessarily that's a bad thing. That isn't saying that any of the albums in between these 2 points are bad. Those are my favorite albums, some of those, but they definitely don't have that band feel to them the early albums do.
Yeah, change or progression is always pretty much a good thing, especially with music, but you know, this might have been a little too extreme of a progression, at least at the time. I know all these years later, we all love this album as a whole, all that stuff. But at the time, I could definitely see where, and you know, even like I said, for me, for years, like I never listened to more than a couple songs on the album. I just thought it was too different. And, but again, that changes. So that just sometimes that drastic change takes longer for others to appreciate than, you know, and the same goes with Elder when we get to that. It's that same story all over again.
Yep.
Let's see. Robbie said, Save Your Love is a killer track to end the album. He never knew Peter played a double kick. Anton rules.
Yeah.
Mark says, Save Your Love was such an awesome song. Ace sounds like he's just yelling at the girl. Also, Skid Row did a kick-ass version of this song that's on YouTube. Not familiar with that. I'll have to check that out.
Nice.
I know they did a good version of Come On and Love Me. Mark also says Dynasty has a special place for him because the tour was his first Kiss concert on July 21st, 1979 at the Pittsburgh Civic Arena. 12 years old. That's amazing, dude. Awesome.
Nice.
I've always said, man, if only I was old enough back in them days or even around at that time. It would have been so cool to see him back in that 70s era. Did you happen to get a tour book or anything? Do you still have anything from that show? Let us know. Well, Robbie's got a true confession. We'll save that then real quick. So let's get on into it here. Not to mention the photo there from the Dynasty sessions, of course.
That's true. Yeah.
Does anybody have the version of the vinyl where you can see the straitjackets on the cover? Those are kind of hard to come by.
Right. I had that poster for a long time, but it was the airbrushed version.
Yes, yes. All right, true confession times. I guess I'll start. One for me is other than Ace, I was not a fan of the costumes for this time frame. Love Gun was one of my, if not my favorite, it's right up there with the Creatures era, which would come down. But to switch from the Love Gun to this, it was a little too, like, I don't know, Las Vegas-y looking to me. Again, I love Aces. I love the color scheme, the blue. It just fit him so perfectly. But like Jeans, every time I looked at Jeans, it looked like he just made his suit out of aluminum foil and stuck a few teeth there on the boots and whatnot. Paul's, it's like I'm not sure what it is. Peter's with the green fur and the cat heads and everything. I just wasn't a big fan of those costumes. Again, I wish that they had put on a better stage show for this tour as well. It never been a big fan of watching any of the bootleg shows from this tour, mainly because visually it doesn't do anything. I'm not a big fan of that plain stage setup. I will give them credit that the thing they did at the beginning where they all rise out of the floor with the different colored lights, that is cool. I'll give them that. But other than that, it's just like it's not a very visually stunning stage setup after what they did with the Live 2 and even the original Destroyer stage, going things like that. And then I'll close with one that actually relates to the album more than just kind of the time frame. But again, I would have liked to had a different song by Peter on here. I would have liked to have had at least 2 Peter songs, would have been a nice even amount, but something different than what we got in general, with the kind of glamorizing the drug use, because this was kind of at the time where Kiss was becoming more of that family band, and I know people like me and so many other drummers were looking up to him and became drummers because of him. And like I said, you don't want to hear your hero per se singing about that kind of stuff. So I mean, I would have much rather heard Peter pull out some other songs that he had in his pocket and put that or 2 on here. And of course, there's that whole thing. As great as Anton plays on this album, I just wish it was that original 4 chemistry again, where just like from the get-go and what we last heard with Love Gun, I just wish it was the original 4 all the way through. And so that's really about it for mine.
Yep. For mine, we've kind of touched on this a bit already, but just for me personally, when I was really young, I used to freaking hate this album. I would stay away from it at all costs. I am not listening to that. It's a freaking disco album. I'm not listening to it. That's I don't know what Kiss thought they were doing, that sort of thing. And I think some of that came from those mixes again that I brought up earlier, that Dad would play mixes rather than full albums. So I didn't have much of an idea of which songs went to what. I'd recognize a song when it came on, but I had no idea. I can still vividly remember thinking that Boomerang from Hot in the Shade was the original 4. It played alongside the others. I didn't have a very good idea of what Ace and Peter were or weren't capable of when I was a kid. So it wasn't until I started exploring the full discography on my own when I got older that, when I decided I'm going to listen to every Kiss album in order. I just want the whole picture. I'm even going to listen to those 2 awful disco albums that they did. I'm just going to grin and bear it, only to discover that I was 100% wrong. Not only was most of this album not disco at all, but I even liked the disco-y ones just as much anyway. So it was all just me hyping up nothing. This is a great album, and it's totally unfair to say that it's a disco album.
Yeah, I mean, I was, like I said, I was the same way when I was young. The first three tracks were all I would listen to, and it would always kind of bug me too, because I'd always be like, man, the cover is cool as hell. That picture is like one of the coolest covers in my opinion, just of how good the makeup looks. But at the same time, if you really kind of study that picture, you can see a lot of inconsistencies with the makeup and things that aren't aligned and all that stuff, which is kind of funny to sit and study if you really look at it close. But and so that part of it, because it's like, oh, it's such a cool album cover, and that poster that comes with it is cool. But it's like, why can't the whole album be as good as this looks to me? And now all these years later, it's finally gotten to that point,
Yeah.
And again, jumping ahead, it was kind of similar with Asylum. It was that whole judging the book by its cover, the clothes they were wearing at the time and the look, and I'm just like, oh, I have no interest in this album. But then once I finally kind of, to steal a word from you, Brendan Barrett, especially for the show, it was like, oh my God, this album's way better than I ever gave it credit for.
Yeah. Yep. I hadn't seen those 80s videos. When I first grabbed those, Asylum didn't seem any different to me. It sounded like the sister album to Animalize to me. And it was like, man, that guitar work is great. And I remember seeing the Who Wants to Be Lonely video. And even then, like, laughing it off, like, the 80s. Not realizing that is pretty much how they dressed that whole tour. Like, oh, God, why?
Yeah, I mean, for years, I thought Young and Wasted was actually sung by Eric Carr, like on the album. Because that was my introduction to that song was, again, when they did it on that live concert on MTV. And when I finally, again, decided to look it up as a whole and got more into that song, and I'm like, that's Gene. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Let's see here. So Robbie has a true confession. Vinny Poncia sang harmonies on most of Dynasty. Mark says Dynasty was great because it doesn't showcase their alter egos. No God of Thunder, Almost Human. No singing about space travel or Star Child stuff. Just a straight rock album. There may be glimpses of that stuff throughout the songs, but I get what you're saying. It's not as heavily structured around the songs. Just little nods here and there. And hey, Carolina Hard Rock Metalhead's here. What's up, man? He said, what's up? Just discovered your podcast about a week ago. Love it. Lifelong Kiss fan starting in 76. Very cool. And he has his own little podcast. Yeah. I know you probably missed it, but man, at the beginning of the show, we read your comment. Went over and subbed to your channel. Definitely going to check it out. We definitely would love to do some co-stuff with you, and collaborating is what I meant to say. So definitely we need to get in touch with each other and figure something out. And then he said, Dynasty rocks. The problem is leaving off with a track like I Was Made for Loving You. It gave the impression it was a disco. Yeah, 100%, man. No one was expecting that to be the first song they hear on the first Kiss album as a group after all that. And I'm sure it threw people for a loop, and thankfully the rest of the album kind of redeemed itself. And and again, we've talked before. There was people that jumped off the train with Dynasty or Destroyer. I mean, as weird as that kind of is to say, but there were people at that time that were that outraged at how different Destroyer sounded that were kind of jumping off the train for a while, and then maybe they eventually came back down the road at whatever point. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. Oh, wow. He said he was at the Animalize concert when Eric sang it and was wondering why Gene wasn't, but he done a good job. Yeah, he did, man.
Yeah.
There was a video that popped up a while back of, and I believe it was still like the early part of, God, what was it? Was it Lick It Up, or because I feel like Vinny was still with them for some reason, and they were doing Young and Wasted. So
yeah,
and Gene was actually singing it. Well, he was messing up the lyrics left and right, and so I just made my own assumption that that's probably why he decided to let Eric sing it. And, and I thought he did do a great job. And like I said, I always assumed that it was actually him on the album singing it. So
yeah, they should have let him. They should have let him lead a song prior to freaking Beth or even Little Caesar.
yeah, I mean, I love Little Caesar, but he definitely should have had more songs throughout his career with Kiss.
Yeah.
You know, not just a couple instrumentals and re-recording Beth and all that, but you know. Savannah, where'd you go? What's your true confession?
I'm hearing her talk on the phone. Somebody must have called her.
Well, they're asking her what her true confession is.
Yeah. It's Gene Simmons himself. Hey.
Well, I guess that wraps that up. We'll get these overall rankings here.
Absolutely. Okay, so most of you guys know the drill. If you're new, here's what we're doing. So we've ranked all of these. We've collected rankings from all sorts of people. We're going to put them all together and give you an average ranking for the whole thing. If you haven't put yours in yet, feel free to do it. Even if you're watching this episode and it's way past, we will put your rankings in here and change them. It's cool to see from week to week what may change. So
yeah, there is never a deadline.
Yeah.
You can go all the way back to the first album and leave us your rankings and all that. There's never a deadline to this. I mean, I guess a technical deadline is when we get to the end of the discography and we kind of wrap this up. So
right, yeah,
sound like a hypocrite there, but that's a long ways off. So what I'm saying is, you guys got plenty of time. You know, please go over. You know, give all your rankings for every album. Really quick, Robbie Starr saying Charisma should have been the lead-off track. That would have been interesting. Carolina says he knows of the older people did because he came in with Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun era, so he did not live the first 3 studio albums and a live one, but quickly collected them. Yeah, very cool, man. That would have been a great time to come in as a Kiss fan, man. Again, if only I had a time machine.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a huge regret of mine that I didn't become aware enough to pay attention until they were already doing the farewell tour by the time I was, you know, like.
Or that I wasn't even born at that time yet.
yeah. Yep, same. Yep. So we've got rankings collected, of course, from the two of us that you guys just watched. We've got rankings from Savannah, our normal third co-host. She couldn't be on the episode today, but her top 3 were Sure Know Something, I Was Made for Loving You, and Hard Times. Strange to see her pick an Ace song as a number 1. She also ranked this 8 overall. We've got votes from Steve McGowan. He gave this an 8, and his top 3 were Hard Times, Magic Touch, and Sure Know Something. We've also got votes from Rochelle McGowan. She also gave this an 8, and her top 3 were Magic Touch, Sure Know Something, and I Was Made for Loving You. We've got votes from Robbie Stars, who gave this a 10. His top 3, Dirty Livin', Charisma, and Magic Touch. We're also including votes from me. Last time we did this is the second time we've been through the whole discography. So last time I gave this a 7, and my top 3 were X-Ray Eyes, Magic Touch, and Sure Know Something. We got votes from Eli from last time. You gave this a 9 overall, and your top 3 were I Was Made for Loving You, Sure Know Something, and Charisma. Yeah, it's weird to see votes from last time, isn't it?
Yeah, funny how things change.
Yeah. Votes from my dad, who gave this a 9 overall. His top 3, Magic Touch, Save Your Love, and Sure Know Something. Steve McGowan from last time, he gave this an 8, and his top 3 were Magic Touch, I Was Made for Loving You, and Sure Know Something. We got votes from RJ Jordan, who I believe was on this episode last time we did this.
Very well could have been.
Yeah, I think he did that one and Unmasked last time. He gave this a 7, and his top 3 were Sure Know Something, Magic Touch, and I Was Made for Loving You. We got votes from Jay Rucker, who gave this a 10. His top 3, Save Your Love, Charisma, and Hard Times. Got votes from Robbie Stars last time, who just gave this a 9 overall. We've also got Jay Rucker's dad, who gave this a 9.5. His top 3 were Magic Touch, Hard Times, and Charisma. Jay's niece gave this an 8 overall. Rain in Adamstown gave this a 9.5. And his top 3 were Magic Touch, Charisma, and Hard Times. And then we had an overall vote from Jacob Hicks, who gave this a 9.5, and also overall from Gianni Ottaviani, who gave this a 7.5. So that's a whole ton.
Chuck Hoskins just jumped in with Sure Know Something as his number 1.
Nice.
Waiting to see what his others are here.
Awesome. We'll get those put in too if he's got a whole list.
Magic Touch, number 2. 2000 Man, number 3. Carolina said he was able to go to the Animalized concert. It was a Christmas gift from his sister, Charlotte. He hasn't missed a tour ever since and has gone to at least 2 to 3 shows on every tour since. That's awesome, dude.
Wow. Yeah.
So you want us to rank on the songs on it? Yeah, man. That's kind of our premise. Just kind of rank all the songs from least to favorite. And then we do like an overall ranking out of 10. So yeah, man, don't hesitate, go all the way back to, the first album episode and, drop your rankings on everyone. And we always, add everyone's rankings in to where we're at and see how things change. Cause then at the very end, we kind of do like a sort of a awards type deal, kind of, see who gets the most votes. Like Kane jumps in saying Magic Touch, Sure Knows Something, and Dirty Living. Top 4, I'm assuming, in that order. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
That's a new name to me, I believe, Like Kane.
Yeah. Good to see all the people chiming in. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you very much. We love it.
All right. Well, I've got our preliminary rankings here. So, again, it's not too late. If you want to rank the whole thing, absolutely throw yours in there and we will get them put in.
Yes.
So, where we're standing right now, this album got an 8.4 average out of 10 overall, which is pretty good. That pops it right up the list. Not quite in first, but above Alive 2. Looks like it's sandwiched between Alive 2 and Ace. Up near the top of our rankings. So
seems like a better showing this time, even though I ranked it lower than I did last time, I know.
Right. Yeah. We still got Alive 1 in first place right at the moment with an 8.9 average. So again, it'll be interesting to see how that changes. I do believe last time we did the whole discography, Creatures won. I think Creatures was
so.
top ranked.
So we're getting close to that. So I'm curious to see if it's going to do the same thing this time.
Yeah, absolutely. So this week in 9th place, which is our dead last, Dirty Livin'.
Cool.
In 8th place, Save Your Love. In 7th place, X-Ray Eyes. In 6th place, 2000 Man. In 5th place, I Was Made for Loving You.
Ha.
Yeah, strange to see it that far low. And our top 4 for this week: in 4th place, Charisma. In 3rd place, Magic Touch. In 2nd place, Hard Times. And
Nice.
in 1st place, Sure Know Something.
Nice. I'm glad to see Hard Times get some love.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Oops.
Okay, Carolina just chimed in. His top 3 is Magic Touch, 2000 Man, and then Save Your Love.
Nice.
Thanks a lot, man.
Absolutely.
By chance, do you have an overall ranking for the album that you want to throw out of 10? Anybody else that's in here too, please?
Don't hesitate, or Gene will put his log in your fireplace. Nobody wants that.
They'll try to read your body. They'll make you listen to Eric Carr doing Beth.
Yeah.
Now we love Eric. Hell, just the other day was the anniversary of Eric's passing. 20 some years, 26.
No,
something
more
like
than that, almost 30.
29. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, crazy.
Because he died the year I was born. So
Oh yeah.
So he's been dead as long as I've been alive. Actually.
Wow.
It's
I
depressing.
still remember sitting there having Thanksgiving dinner that day, and I think my dad and my cousin told me or something. And I was like, oh man, I was bummed.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Never got to see him in person, but yeah, now when I hear people tell stories of having a chance to have seen him in person, it's like I look at that as like almost a mythical type of experience now, because he's been gone so long at this point.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yep, absolutely.
that's how I am with guys like Dwayne Allman and Randy Rhoads. They were gone, either so long before I was born or when I was still a baby. That to me, it's like, they're almost these mythical people that, like, wow, you saw them in person? That's impossible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mark Stewart's number 2 is I Was Made for Loving You. Number 1 is the rest of the album.
That's fair.
That's a first. Is that legal? Can we mark all the songs as a number 1 and somehow?
No.
It's got to be. It's the Kiss Army.
Oh, that's funny.
All right. So that wraps up this episode. Again, love all the interaction you guys are giving us. Makes it fun. So Carolina Hard Rock, get a hold of us, man. I don't know if you're on Facebook or not, but send us friend requests. Drop some messages. We definitely want to collaborate with you. So you guys see it there in the chat. Please go check out his channel, Carolina Hard Rock Metalhead. He's just getting his channel going. He's already got a lot of content on his channel. Please go check it out. I know I'm going to sit and check some of it out tonight. We haven't seen our brothers from Kiss and Tail in a few weeks, but definitely go check them out. Give them some love. I'm not even, to be honest, I'm not even sure if they've done an episode lately. They must be kind of busy with some other things, but I know they're doing well. Definitely go check them out. And again, if you guys missed the beginning of the show, we're promoting the Kiss My Black Ass book from Anthony X. Please go to Amazon.com or any other online site. You can purchase the book if you haven't read it. It's also available in Kindle version. Again, excited to read it. We'll be sure to follow up with that, and then maybe even have him here on the show to discuss an album with us in the book. And again, the offer is always out there. Anyone that wants to come on and discuss any of these albums that are coming up, let us know. More, you're all welcome. More the merrier. Like I said, with Carolina Hard Rock, we'll get in touch, man, and hopefully you'll be on here soon, and we'd love to come on your show as well. So I think that wraps it up. Is there anything else we need to hit on or that I've missed?
Not that I can think of.
All right. So next week we go over to Unmasked. Robbie asked if we played any songs off of Dynasty Live. We did. We played I Was Made for Loving You, Charisma, and I believe that was it.
Right. Yeah, the Kiss-ish project has done more. We did Sure Know Something. Did we do any others?
No, I don't believe we have yet.
Yeah, that'll definitely come along.
And we're trying to work out 2,000 Man for the current lineup of Sweet Pain. But that's something that we literally just started. And again, with this, the way the world's going right now, I'm not even sure if we're even able to get any rehearsals in yet or what's going on. It's everything just feels like it's a blur.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, maybe next week we can bring back the video clips, and maybe if you want to hear us doing one of the Dynasty songs live or something. Unfortunately, with next week's album, we don't have any footage of us doing "Talk to Me" because Luke hates that song.
Freaking hate that song.
We wanted to do it. Oh yeah. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up, man. Much love and thanks to all you guys for jumping in and participating and giving us all your votes and everything. And like I said, please don't hesitate. Go back, put in votes for all the albums. We'd love to hear it. Please share the word. Again, with the Facebook page and our poll, go make sure to go vote for what song gets a second chance to return. Right now, I believe Rocket Ride is in the lead, so make sure you get your vote in, and please share that on your Facebook page, and so we can get as many votes on that as possible. Yeah, Mark, you're right. Eric's death was a little overshadowed because of Freddie Mercury dying the same day. Yeah, I do tend to forget that sometimes, but that is kind of unfortunately the case. Carolina gives Dynasty a 7.5. Thank you, man.
Nice. Yes. .5. See if that affects that at all. Yep, still 8.4.
Okay. It all helps, though. Keep them coming.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're going to get out of here then. Thanks again to everyone. Everyone stay safe. Again, hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. So we'll be back next week for Unmasked. Hopefully Savannah will be back with us too. Not just chiming in on the chat. But Carolina, let's see. In his opinion, Eric Carr, who's the greatest drummer Kiss ever had, Peter is his favorite, but Eric by far was the most dominant. I would say so, yeah. It's kind of a toss-up. I hate to try to choose who my favorite Kiss drummer is out of the three because I like so much about all three of them. But
yeah, they each brought a very different approach.
Right. But I will say Eric did bring more of the, I guess, kind of heavy style, with the double bass and just his energy and everything. So he's definitely not forgotten though. Here we are, almost 30 years after he's gone, and we still talk about him every day and celebrate him every year. And, we still get occasional music that gets released that, Eric had in the vaults, So it's very cool that, he's still alive in a lot of ways. And, it's cool to see that. He's definitely not forgotten. All right, guys. So thanks again, as always. We'll be back next week for Unmasked. And until then, everyone take care, be safe. We'll see you later.